things earlier. All right, we are live. So if you take a look at the thumbnail, it's gonna say, why does kung fu need to be fake? All right. Obviously, the thumbnail is a form of getting you guys to see this point of view. It's 9:14 early in the morning, so most everybody's probably still asleep if they're not productive people, unless they work graveyards, and that sucks. Anyways, let's get to it. So I know I'm targeting kung fu, but this is actually for all of the martial arts. Um, Yesterday I was watching some YouTube videos, pretty funny ones. They're the McDojo ones, the ones where you see a lot of martial art teachers or martial art practitioners practicing martial arts, but just kind of like being really really bad at it. Um, Basically, they're just it just looks terrible, looks hilarious, looks sad, you know. But anyways, so the martial art you tend to see a lot in these McDojos and these fake martial arts is kung fu. Now, I'm gonna get straight to the point. Kung fu gets picked on a lot by these McDojo channels, but there's a reason why. Because kung fu, straight to the point, kung fu is very, very, very dangerous when done right. It's probably one of the most dangerous forms of martial arts that exist out there. Um, More dangerous than karate, Muay Thai, boxing, you name it. But when done right, that's the thing. Um, Kung Fu is actually very, very deadly. I mean, honestly, in order to perfect the style of Kung Fu, any style in Kung Fu requires a lifetime dedication. So, there is the example I like to give is, for example, and this goes for all martial arts. Um, in where I used to train in Kung Fu, where I used to train martial arts, our martial art teacher, he wouldn't tell us this, but this is just what would happen. Obviously, because we have children trained as well from 5-year old and up. So the whole process was we would learn how to coordinate our bodies. We would learn the martial art movements. We would learn how to punch, but not actually. We wouldn't actually learn how to give out an effective, dangerous punch. We'd learn how to mimic the movement of a punch. Because for some people, they've never seen a punch in their life. They don't know the form or anything. So what do they do? They learn how to create the form of a punch. They learn how to straighten their arm, not lock the elbow, strengthen the wrist at the right time, flex the fist the correct way. So, the first step is basically to learn the movement, not its effectiveness. I mean, think about it. If you're a bullied individual, um, and you join martial arts and you become a deadly killing machine your first month, it's not gonna go good, you know, towards anybody. You're gonna be very dangerous with a wrong state of mind. So what's gonna happen is that you're gonna retaliate. You're gonna look for your bullies and you're gonna want to destroy them. You know, that's not the whole point of martial arts. The whole point of martial arts is to develop the confidence that you can face any challenge while you're perfecting your movements. You know, and then at some point you're gonna create them effective to where they're actually deadly. But by that time, your confidence level is so up there that you don't feel the need to retaliate against anybody. That's the whole point of the martial arts, is that it's a form of healing. You heal your way of thinking. That's why you see a lot of kids nowadays, you know, being bullied, and then they go to school with guns, knives, whatever it is, retaliating because you gave a child. I mean, not saying that the parents did. I was just saying that in general, the child got a hold of a gun, of a weapon, while being in that weakened state of being bullied, being harmed, being attacked, whatever it is. I mean, obviously, the whole point is for bullying to stop. But is that going to happen? Not anytime soon. So what do? You don't necessarily fight back physically and trying to eliminate your bullies. No, you learn how to deal with your bullies to a point where at some point your bullies don't want to deal with you. You know, I mean that's a case that happened to me growing up, and in my earlier videos I talk about how I was bullied from kinder to fifth, sixth grade. You know, but that's the thing with, especially with the kung fu style, it's that before you even learn to be deadly effective, you have to learn the movements. You have to learn the coordination of the movement. Um, you have to create muscle memory. You have to get a good stance. You got to strengthen your body first. But here's the thing, all that is just conditioning. It doesn't teach you exactly how to throw an effective punch. There's a difference from somebody being really strong at punching versus somebody who knows how to throw a punch. I mean, you look at boxers that are like half my size who know how to throw a punch, and they can knock somebody out that's like 300 pounds. You know, it's because they know how to throw a punch. But if you have somebody that, let's just say, does weights, is really physically active, has a lot of body strength, they throw a punch, and you realize the punch ain't that hard, you know. And then they start blaming the martial art. Well, I practice martial arts, so I should be able to knock somebody out. It's like, no, dude, you weren't taught how to become deadly yet. You know, you're just taught how to condition your body. You know, mainly for defense, really. But the punches, the kicks, the strikes, the chops, the eye gouges, the eye pokes, um, the tearing of somebody's skin with your hands, that doesn't come until way later on. So when you see like these McDojos and you see the martial art teachers, these teachers, it was a money grab um, idea. They're like, I'm gonna become a martial arts teacher, learn a few movements. Yes, a McDojo can actually learn all of the martial art movements and not be effective because all they know is the movements. It's like me. Like if I want to be a handyman, but all I do is buy the tools, you're gonna look at me and be like, yeah, wow, Danny's got all the handyman tools. He must be a good handyman. No, I just bought all the tools. That's it. I figured out what all the tools are. I went to Lowe's or to Home Depot and I bought all the tools. I had them in my tool shed. I take pictures with them. People go to my home and they see all the tools and think, man, Danny must be a really good handyman. But no, I know nothing about being a handyman. I just have all the tools. That's it. So in the martial art world, learning all the movements, all the kicks, punches, tiger, grabs, whatever it is, those are just you acquiring the tools. But the effectiveness comes when you train them. And training those tools, it takes a lot of time, a lot of work, and you also got to do it right. So you don't just get in front of a punching bag and start punching it and become a great puncher. No, you still need to learn how the physics of the body punches effectively. You got to learn how your body pivots. When you punch, you don't punch with your arm, you punch with your body. In fact, when you punch with your back foot. That's how you punch. Your punch comes from your rear foot, your rear ankle, From there is where you develop the strength for your forward punch, your forward jab, or even your straight punch and everything. Every hit you hit with your whole body. So these questions that they're asking me. Anyways, so most kung fu styles, when people just learn the movements, which is very easy to do. I mean, you can go on YouTube, honestly, you can go on Safari, you can go on AI, and it can teach you all of the kung fu movements. But those are just the tools. So when you get these movements, your body's not conditioned, or you might be somewhat conditioned, but your body does not know how to execute those movements. I could do a bunch of weights and then grab a hammer and realize that you know I'm I realize that I'm hammering something. I don't know how to use a hammer. I just assume because I have biceps, I'm gonna be able to hammer a nail in. And yeah, hammering something is probably a lot easier. But here's the thing: every movement, first of all, every single strike in kung fu is deadly. You know, I mean, you've heard of boxers kill their opponents with one punch. I'm pretty sure that's not an accident. Meaning, I know, I mean, meaning, I know the boxer is not trying to kill their opponent, but the intention behind their strike, um, due to the training, was to kill. Because an effective hit will knock somebody out, will put them out of commission. Most fighters, most competent fighters, they train to fight multiple opponents. So, you know, if you're trained to fight multiple opponents, every single strike needs to be 100% effective. And in kung fu, um, that's how we train. We train um, against multiple opponents. But since we're not trying to, you know, end anybody, we're not trying to unalive somebody. Um, Most likely, anybody under a black belt or a black sash in kung fu, they're not gonna be very effective yet. Um, in their defense, maybe in their defense, but not in their offense. Why? Because it takes a few years to mold somebody's mind to not want to go out there and just cause violence against other people. So most martial art teachers, good martial art teachers, will not train you to be effective until you're a black sash or a black belt. So what happens? Most people, they take like a year of kung fu. They study all the movements. They study with advanced fighters. They study with YouTube channels. They watch kung fu movies, and they physically learn how to do every single movement. I mean, I know that within my first 2 years, I was able to do a lot of the flashy kicks, the flashy punches, a lot of the advanced martial art katas and martial art forms. I was able to do all that stuff within the first 2 years. But so if anyone were to see me, they're gonna be like, "Wow, this guy is dangerous." But I never trained those movements to be dangerous. I only trained them because I had tournaments, mainly for aesthetics. A lot of the martial arts you see, like in movies, they're for aesthetic purposes, so that they look good, so that you're entertained. But the effectiveness is not there. So kung fu being so deadly because its origins are deadly, where the Shaolin monks would train so that each hit ended their opponent. They trained on a daily basis. They went to vigorous training. They were being attacked by different different tribes, different governments, you know different enemies. The temple is always being targeted to be burnt down and everything. So Shaolin monks were being constantly harassed, attacked, and everything. So they learned to be 100% effective. I could guarantee you back then, in the times of Shaolin monks, there was no McDojos. Everybody was effective, or they would become effective. So now back to where I used to train in the martial arts. We deal with 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. We're not gonna make them effective. If anything, they'll gain confidence in themselves. They'll know that if they got into a fight, they'd be able to square up with somebody. But a lot of the movements, a lot of the traditional kung fu movements, all that stuff, they are very, they're not as effective because they require a lot of strength, a lot of tendon strength, a lot of speed building, um, a lot of pivoting, a lot of hip action, a lot of leg action. That's why in the kung fu we really emphasize on focusing your stances. A lot of the power comes from your legs. So, yeah. That being said, um, when you see a lot of these McDojos out there doing what they call fake martial arts, the movements are effective. It's the person that decided to just grab the tools and then put them to work and then make it seem like they know what they're doing, which it's not true. A lot, if you want to be an effective kung fu practitioner, first of all, you got to find a good teacher. So that's already a challenge in itself. Not everybody is good, you know. So that's one. The next one is you need to train each movement like you're going to use it in combat. That's the only way it's going to become effective is when you train it to be effective. You know, if your move, like the tiger, if your tiger is meant to grab somebody and like dislocate their bicep or dislocate something or grab at their muscle, guess what? You got to train your hands to be able to withstand that type of strength. You know, you don't just learn how to throw a tiger and it's all of a sudden effective. No, it becomes effective when you train it to be effective, and then you become dangerous. You know, but again, you learn that with time. By that time, when you realize how effective your movements are, all the various kung fu movements that exist out there, you realize how dangerous you become, and then now you don't want to fight. Now you're like, yeah, I don't want to. I know that my hand can basically bend a piece of wood, crack it, smash it, whatever. I know I can. I know my chop could already crack a brick. Why would I want to do that to somebody's jaw? Why do I want to get in trouble? Why do I want to get arrested? You know, why am I going to do that to myself? It's good to have it. If you have a bunch of people attacking you at once and your life's in danger, that's great. If your hands can already crack through bricks, break through bricks, real bricks, smash through pieces of wood, you're gonna come out on top when it comes to defending yourself. But yeah, that's the martial arts, all martial arts, not just kung fu, they're gonna be fake in the beginning because competent martial art teacher is not going to teach you how to be effective until they know what state of mind you have or that you develop. Most martial artists, most very good martial art practitioners don't want to fight. They don't they don't want to injure anybody. They don't want to hurt anybody because they know they can already. You know, it's like when you have it's like you have a police officer that's really good at what they do. They're really efficient. They don't want to go around shooting everybody. They want to de-escalate a situation, and the last thing they want to do is draw their gun. You know, and I'm talking about the good cops, not the cops you see that are trigger happy or the ones that are already like unholstering their gun on a traffic stop. Those are the ones that shouldn't be in the in their business. They shouldn't be in the career of law enforcement. But a very good a very good cop, a very good officer does not want to ever pull out their gun. They want to de-escalate a situation every single time. Why? Because they're mature in what they're doing. So martial artist needs to become mature before they become deadly, or else they're gonna be out there in every single fight, breaking jaws, ending lives. That's what's gonna happen. You know. So yeah, I know it's the title is why Kung Fu needs to be fake. It's because some people don't have the maturity when they do a few movements and they use it. You can't have them out there being effective because they're gonna use it at whatever random thing. They're gonna probably cause a really severe accident. Um, but when you get to the point where you're really effective, almost anything you do, any martial art you practice, even on day one, you're already effective because of your training. So yeah, kung fu's not fake. It just needs to be fake in the beginning because it's very deadly. And then once you become deadly with a martial art, at that point you don't want to use it anymore because you know the damage you can cause. Anyways, leave some comments down here. All you martial artists out there, let me know what you think. Watch the video, see if it pertains to you. Are you a McDojo practitioner, somebody who only practiced a few years and you think you know everything? Or are you somebody that's been in the martial arts for a long time and realized that, you know, being effective comes with mental maturity? You guys let me know, guys. Have a great day.